Um, I'll be talking about introduction. The why do you want to study in a world-class country? What are the things? What are the essence for you? Because if you don't, like you said, if the reason for something is not understood, it will definitely be the privilege will definitely be abused. Why do you want to study in the outside the country? Document you need to you document that will be requested from you in applying how to write a strong personal statement or SOP, or some schools like I said, schools in California request for both, and the visa processing, what are the things you need to do, and how to. I think with experiences and stories will make students be able to be accustomed with the meeting and be able to remember some things or the salient points said in those meetings. And so, personally, for me, I remember when I was in Nigeria, I was a junior colleague to Professor Awe. I had the opportunity to go to schools in Nigeria to study, but I realized that hey, I may have a PhD in that program, but I will not be proficient in that field. I may just have one or two things that come out with a page and the people will start calling me Doctor Busayo. But at the back of my mind, give me a task in that my field, I will not be able to do it. And so I felt for me to become a world best, to be competitive globally, I need to not just mingle around my people from my home country, but also have an understanding of how the latest research going on in the world. And so I felt that was the best thing to do. And so that was why I stopped studying in Nigeria or doing my PhD in Nigeria. And so I felt that was the best thing to do. And so I applied to schools outside the country. And so one of the things I feel you gain from them is that not only education, you'll be able to have experiences, and that's why here in USA, they don't take people from one particular background. They take people from different background to not only learn about your course of study, but also learn about people's educational or cultural background. And so learning, going to international, having an international experience makes you to be an international person. You'll be able to talk from not just a myopic background, but a well-rounded background. You'll be able to know if this person says this, you'll be able to understand why he's saying that. Because you've been with the person for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. And so you'll be able to understand the pain or the challenges the person feels and how you'll be able to overcome those challenges to be where he is. And so in studying internationally, not only apart from the education aspect, you'll be able to have a mixture of, because they said the course of study you are gaining is not only about education. Culture of other people also is also education. And so that's what international education gives you. And so apart from that, also you'll be able to see those people who are the best in their field. You'll be able to talk to them. By God's grace, this August, I'm planning to go for a summer school. And those people going for those summer schools, those people that are going to teach us in those summer schools are people that have written textbooks in my field. Imagine somebody, for example, let me use HK Das or HK Das or this popular engineering mathematics. Imagine the person that wrote engineering mathematics teaching you. You know, you'll be able to have a better understanding of what is writing in the textbooks compared to you just reading the textbooks. And those are the opportunities schooling in outside the country gives you. Gives you a well-rounded education. You become a well-versed person, not only in your field, but in other subject matters. And so one thing also need to do about it to do is apply early. Not just apply early, plan early. If you want to start, if you want to go for if your plan is to be maybe in US next year, you don't wait till maybe 3 months time before you start applying. Start gathering your document now. If you need a recommendation letter from a professor, don't wait till maybe 3 months before you want to start applying. Start telling the professor at least a year before, so that you can know the mind of the professor. So that if the professor said it's going to be busy, or it's just telling you what you don't feel you want to hear, you can look for somebody else so that you'll not be disappointed. So he said plan to if you plan early, you will not fail. You will not fail. So plan early. Start gathering those documents. I will talk about those documents we are going to use. And so start planning early. At least 1 year is enough for people in applied sciences like chemistry and biology, whereby, like I said, my knowledge is mostly in the US. That's where you get a lot of funding. For people in biology, chemistry, physics, whereby is the professor that will go to admit them or take them in. Start sending mail to those professors right now. Start talking to those professors, and I'm going to talk about how you can sieve out informations on the internet to know those schools that you can apply to. Okay, so what are the documents you need to start working on? Your transcript, your certificate. Like I said, my knowledge is about US. US mostly don't emphasize on certificate, but because they believe transcript is more important. So, but it's also good to have your certificate. Your certificate, your standardized test score. What do I mean by standardized test score? I mean your GRA, your GRE, your TOEFL, your IELTS, your in my own program, there's what we call GRE Mass. So you need to go to the website of those schools you want to apply to know the requirements they need. And at the end of this session, I'm going to tell you how you can do those things. So also your supporting documents, your letter of recommendation, your CV. I'll also show you how my CV was and to have what are the things the CV must have. We're going to talk about that. Your statement of purpose, I'm going to show you my own statement of purpose I used to apply and teach you what you need to how to write a good standard statement of purpose. Your proof of fund for those schools that don't have full funding, they may request for proof of fund. But I pray and wish you don't need this proof of fund because there's nothing good as my friend used to say that scholarship is like a free money, but it's not free money. You have to work for it also. So my by God's grace, my for each year for my education for each year is 55,300. Yes, 55,300 by God's grace, and I'm going to use about 5 years. So if you multiply 55,000 times 5 years, that's going to almost $275,000. That's what the school is investing on me. Now, convert that $275,000 to naira. Where do you think I want to get that money from? But because of the scholarship I got, I don't think about that. I don't even think about school fees. I don't think about what I'm going to pay for my house rent or my utility because I have a scholarship. And so those are the beauty of scholarship. You don't think about all those things. So you can focus on your research, focus on your education, and you can come out with a good grade. So your international passport also. You need your international passports, and all those things is going to be very, very important. Okay, so now one thing you also need to know is that because of um because of this because of we're in the 21st century, you don't need to have all those documents, the art document or the physical document. Make sure you have a digital copy of those documents, and that's what I also do. All my documents, make sure the physical one, make sure you have a scanned copy of them and put them on the cloud, either the Google Drive, either your Dropbox, either your iCloud, and so on. Make sure all your documents are online because there are sometimes that you may be outside of your home and you see an opportunity whereby they said, "Hey, apply for this program." You see a program that says it's first come first serve. Apply for this program. You don't need to go home. With the help of your phone, you can just get those documents from your cloud and you submit. And so, what I'm trying to say that make sure all your documents are properly kept online for easy access. Those are all those things that also aid application also. And so, also you need to double check. I want to talk about this at the end how to do that. We'll do a practical way of how to check documents, check requirements for schools and those countries. So we use a case study of somebody. If I am the person, this is how I'm going to do to check the requirement for what this school or this program requires for me to submit in order for me to enjoy scholarship from them. Okay, so now the first thing is writing a strong personal statement. Writing a strong personal statement is very, very important. It's very, very important because um, it talks about, it gives admission committee a background of or the experiences or the challenges you met while either growing up or during your academics. And so during this place, I'm going to share I'm going to share my own personal statement for you. Tell you how my personal statement or statement of purpose, how it was unique and how it makes my application stand out and what gives me a competitive edge. Now, the good thing about it is that you don't to enjoy scholarship many a times you don't need to have a first class. I didn't have it. Though I have a first class in my masters. My first year was my BSc was not the first class, and so you don't need to have a first class. So having a first class doesn't mean that you should not aim for first class. Having a first class gives you an edge, but that is not all they need in application. To make you for you to have a better opportunity is this personal statement will give you an edge. For you to have for them to want to believe or want to understand you, personal statement is where they will get that. Most of those programs don't do interviews. For example, in mathematics, we don't do interview. It is your admission is based on your personal statement, and so you want to write it to the best of your knowledge, the best way you can write it, so that they can actually look at your application and say, this person knows what he's doing. This person knows that. I believe this person will be able to finish this program because that's one thing most departments also look at. If I take this person, like I told you, I'm being $55,000 is being invested on me every year. Even if they're investing in that as a good businessman, no businessman want to invest in a particular project and not want to profit from it. And so those are the things they also those are the things they also look at. If I invest this money in this person, will I be able to get the value for that money from that person? And how do they get that? It's from your personal statement. And so the personal statement will also so those are the what a good personal statement must have. A good personal statement must have an introduction. When it has an introduction, when I say introduction, talk about you. Some people will talk, some people introduction can be about their challenges they faced when they were when they were giving birth to. Maybe somebody is in the is electrical engineering. You could say that, hey, what motivated me to become an electrical engineering is because I grew up in a place whereby there was no light. And so I could not iron my clothes because there was not light. I could not watch TV like other children in the first world country because there was no electricity. And so I felt that I needed to be able to become an engineer, electrical engineer, so that I can solve this problem in my own country. That is why I applied for BSc in electrical engineering in my own country. And I believe if you admit me into your program to become to apply for a PhD in electrical engineering, I'll be able to solve this problem and not only help my country, but also boost the image of the university and the program at large. That can be your introduction. Somebody else can be maybe is working in the biology or maybe public health. You could use that and say that, hey, while growing up, I was living in a place whereby to get access to a good health care was a problem. And so this motivated me to become a public health analyst. And so if you take me to your program, I'll be able to solve those problems in my own country. Somebody else could say that. So what am I saying? You have to look for a story to fit your background and start that because an introduction is very, very important when you're writing an SOP. Because if introduction is not catchy, introduction is not enticing, many of them will not want to read the SOP. And let me tell you, most programs, like I said, have over 200 applicants. They don't have all the time in the world. So your beginning statement is very important. And so that beginning statement will draw them to want to continue and believe that this person knows what it takes for them to complete the program in the department. So also, apart from introduction, it's also your SOP must also talk about your academic background. What did you study? Sometimes, even if possible, you could tell them, I in my while completing my BSc, I did course ABC, and from that course ABC, I learned about DEF, and that DEF makes me to become a little expert, to become an expertise. You can also, though you are still a BSc, you can also you're an expert in that field. Gives me an experience in this in my course. If you have an A in those courses, you could say I had an A in those courses, and which shows that I am top ranked student in my department. So apart from the courses, you can talk about the courses you did, the topics in the courses you did that is linked to what you want to do for your graduate school, either MSc or PhD. Talk about that and how those courses made you to be well prepared for graduate school. So those are the things. Those are the things that will be in your academic background. Also, your career goals. Also, they don't want to just see somebody that just want to complete a PhD. What do you want to gain from this PhD? What do you want to gain from this MSc? Why do you want to do PhD? Why do you want to do MSc? If it's an MBA, it could be because I want to work in a top company, and I've seen that alumni in those companies in your school were able, because of the program, had access to work in those companies. That could be your career goal. Your career goal could be I want to become a top researcher in this so and so field. Let the SOP have a career goal. Why this program? Why do you want to apply for this program? Must also be there. It makes your application unique. Why do you want to apply for this program? Out of 200 programs in US or in the world, why do you want to apply to this particular school? It must be a reason. The reason can be your professor. The professor there, you could say that I saw this. I applied to this program because Professor ABC is a world-class professor in this field, and I believe that getting from his wealth of knowledge will make me to become a better researcher in my field and be able to add to the global experience in the world. So the reason for applying to that post, that's why we always advise that if you're applying to 20 schools, don't submit that same SOP to just one SOP to 20 schools. I know because of time and the stress, you will not be able to do that. But at least that section for why this program you must change that. When I was applying to schools during my time, I applied to, I think, 7 schools. I applied to 7 schools. So that section I changed it because what? Why that program is where you can talk about, oh, I applied to this program because of this Professor A in his research in this so. So in that place is where that place, so because the Professor A is in maybe, let's say, in Oregon State University where I'm schooling, that professor cannot be in maybe Alabama State University. That same professor cannot be in Harvard. It's not possible. And so if admission committee see that you don't talk about why you want to apply to that school, they feel that this guy doesn't know what he wants to do. He's just applying anyway. He's not focused. And so talk in your SOP. It must have why you are applying to that particular school. It can be because of the work class field. Maybe they have maybe some programs may have research what do you call it? They may have a soft field, or they could have maybe a research building for infectious diseases. Oh, I applied to that school because there's a building or there's a group specifically for infectious diseases, and they've done a lot of papers, and I believe that going to that program will make me to understand infectious diseases better. Infectious disease, maybe it could be in Ebola. Infectious diseases also. So make it unique. Make it unique. Make it individualistic so that they can know that, hey, this person took his time or took her time to apply to a program. It's not just applying anyway. And so talk about your unique strength also and the conclusion. So I'm going to share my own SOP with you guys quickly. Download. So, I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Can
Yes,
see it,
sir.
sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you
Yes,
can.
we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please, I want like a text from everyone if you can see my screen, my SOP screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so so this is my own SOP. Now I could see as a high school student, I wrote a math time paper on the proof of this. Amazed by my result, I presented this paper to a mathematics professor at Lagos State University. Ultimately, it turned out that this paper result was a century-old proof in disguise. However, the process of finding what I thought to be my own method was fascinating. It was this feeling that initially inspired my long-held assumption that I would pursue a career in mathematics. So you could see my introduction. So it must always have an introduction that will catch the fancy of people reading and make so then I go after my introduction, I talked about my degree. Remember, I said the first thing was I talked about academic background. So after my introduction, the next thing is academic background. Then I went to my academic background. My first degree at Lagos State University, one of the finest in Nigeria, exposed me to the basics of mathematics, because they want to know also that if because the education in this country differs, they want to know if your education in your home country, will be able to make you to be able to assimilate or cope with your own education over there. What are the courses you've done that are similar to the courses they've done? That's what academic background also will talk about. So my first degree at Lagos State University, one of the finest, exposed me to the basics of mathematics in all facets and provided me with the strong background to further my studies. Furthermore, as a result of my academics excellence, I'm one of the top 5 best students in the department. My 2011-2012 academic teacher was waived with a stipend of that for that. Afterward, in my quest to increase my knowledge, I applied for a master's. So I'm talking about my academic background also. I told them about what I graduated with. Also, always emphasize, if possible, if you're among the top students, you always emphasize your rank. So the things that also make you rank. Okay, this guy is what was his position among his peers? Try and talk about your rank. If you're not the first, for example, I was not the first. I used the top 5. If I'm not the first, if we use percentage, I was the top 2% in graduate student in my field or in my department. Always talk about rank. Always let your application always have it of number. Those numbers makes them to be able to have a better understanding of your position among your peers. Okay. Also, what are the other things that also make your application competitive is your research experiences. Try to talk to professors that you want to work with, them. You could meet them and say, Prof, please, I want to work with you. I would love to be your research assistant. So one of the good things about it that you have research experience, because most schools want that's the truth. They want ready-made. They don't have the time to begin to train people about how to do research. They want ready-made students because that will also help them. It will reduce the stress for them also to train. So, for example, you have someone that is already ready-made, can do research, and somebody else is there that cannot do research. They will first support the person that can do research first. So that's why research experience is also important. And so I talked about my research experiences, what I did. Now, if you look at the conference that I attended, if you can attend conferences, is good. Nowadays, you don't even need to go physically to those conferences. Check Google. There's some conferences you can go online at the comfort of your home. Google them in your field. So you can talk about them. Look at one of the panel. I said I presented my results in that. Even if you don't go for those conference, if you don't present anything there, you can talk about the conferences you went to and what you learned from those conferences and how those conferences will help you to be prepared for grad school. So I talked about them. If you've written the paper, don't just talk about I've written paper. Talk about what you did in those papers. And look at, for example, that's what my paragraph said. And all this is still talking about my academic background. Now, so in addition to this, I developed a keen interest in mathematical biology while working on because my research interest is in mathematical biology. So I'm not relating, apart from my background, I'm not relating what I've done with my interest that I want to do in this school where I am now. So I talked about what I did, and I talked about what I did in the research. So look at in the research, a Lyapunov function, I did okay. A function that has a functional to the pre blah 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 blah. I was able to investigate. You don't have to write paper. You can maybe one of your profs that is writing the paper now. As a research assistant, you can learn one or two things from me. Talk about what to learn from them. I was able, so you talk about those things and write them on your SOP. So, okay. Apart from that, this was still talking about my academic background because that's also important. I was also a lecturer in LASU. I talked about those experiences also. So apart from that, this was also my academic background. So I talked about so this one I start talking about this part is not talking about um, why this program. Why this program? So to further my interest and capacity for research and novel contribution to mathematics, I am applying to this school to pursue a PhD with a focus in this. I have always wanted to pursue a career in academia as a researcher, and I believe a PhD is the next right step for me. I would consider studying at OSU a great privilege to avail myself of the excellent infrastructure and research facility. The enabling research environment in the university, coupled with the outstanding faculty, will contribute immensely. So I talked about why I applied to that program. Then I now talk about another focus about those people I want to work with. That also makes it more unique. So so I am much interested in Professor blah blah blah, which research aligns with my goal of developing blah 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 blah. I also considered Dr. blah 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 research in area of infectious disease also interesting. So after that, I now talk about my career goals. So the thing about that, let them have everything. It doesn't have to be chronologically, but it must have all this. So when I talk about my career goals, upon the completion of my PhD, I look forward to continue my education through postdoc. Then my goal is to continue working with leaders in the field and becoming a professor in university. So I talked about the courses I've taken also. I've been taking courses, blah, 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 blah. I believe that I am well prepared with the right mindset and technical ability to succeed at the level of doctoral. So those are the things. If you have, I also talked about my programming skills also. Think so. If the um what is MATLAB? I think yeah. Uh, Maple. Okay, Maple is not this one. So if you have programming skills, if you give me talk, you can also put them there. So those are the things the SOP must have. It must be unique. It must talk about your career goals and all those things. So those are the must talk about your strength also. So that is all about SOP. Personal statement. Most schools use them interchangeably, but some schools like University of California request for you to write a personal statement. Personal statement is all about your personal background and how the challenges you face personally, based on your personal background, your cultural background, prepared you to become who you are right now. So that's all about personal statements. So, but some schools interchange them. So be authentic. Let it be authentic. Talk about your challenges. If you don't have if you have some problem in a particular year, maybe your first year was bad. We talk about that in your personal statement. Hey, you will notice that my transcript is not good in my first year. You could use that opportunity to talk about that in your personal statement. Those were the challenges I faced, and I was able to overcome them as shown by the evidence of what I graduated with. So avoid generic statements and also try and proofread everything you've written. Okay, so Now, after that, during the process of that, I don't put that, you will also do an interview. Some programs will do interview for you. After you've submitted the application, some programs will do interview for you. Some programs will do an interview for you. Some programs will do an interview for you, and they they will ask you some things about everything in your SOP. And it's not very difficult. They just want to know you. One thing about American university is that when they ask you for interview, it's not a job interview. They just ask you what is in your SOP, what is your personal statement, what's in your transcript. Oh, I see that you've taken so course. Can you tell me about them? I've seen that you wrote something about your SOP. Can you talk about that? You said you did some laboratory projects. Can you talk about those laboratory experiences? So the interview, like I said, are not difficult. It's just to know more about you. It's a friendly, informal interview. So that's that about interview after that. So after so why submitting your application? It varies. Some schools may request that apart from submitting your SOP, submitting your transcript, submitting your what else again do they submit? Submitting telling your professors to submit their letter of recommendation. Some schools may ask you to submit your passports just to ascertain if truly you are from that country. So all these things that you submit will be requested from you later. Some schools may also ask you to submit GRE. So look at the end of this thing, I will tell you how to navigate and how to know what each program requires, what your program may require from you. So now after that, you've been given admission, you'll be given funding. The next stage is to get your visa because you have to go to those countries. Unfortunately, most of those countries are not visa free for Nigeria, so you have to apply for visa. Like I said, I don't know much about UK, I don't know much about Canada, but I can talk very well about USA. So for the USA, after that, you apply for you request for your they will send you a link to submit some of your documents like your passport and the rest. Then they will send you what we call I-20. The I-20 the I-20 is like your life in the US. It tells us about when you're going to graduate, when your program starts, and when your program will finish. So it's like a dictionary about your academics in the United States. And so once the university gives you the I-20 is free, but some schools may ask you to pay some acceptance fee. So but majority of those schools don't request for that. So after the I-20, then you will do what you are called the service number. So you go to the website of the embassy. So for the US, the request for service number, you pay for that service is about $350. Then after that, you generate what we call the service number. So once you have the service number, then you start your visa processing. So you do what we call the DS-160. The DS-160, let me see. So the DS-160, so you all these things, that's the beauty about the US. You don't need anybody. I did everything by myself without any agent. You don't need any agent to help you to apply. So you fill those things yourself. So it asks where do you want to do your interview, where you want to do your interview, and so you fill those things appropriately, then you follow the instructions. So after that, after you create the DS-160, it's for non-immigrant because F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. You do your DS-160. Then after you do your DS-160, you after the DS-160, um, sorry, I think okay. After the DS-160, you you create you create a portal, the visa portal. That's the US visa application. You create a portal there, you submit your passport number and you apply. After that, you submit your DS-160 or your I-20 to the on that portal. So once you submit that, they'll approve. Once it is being approved, then you'll be allowed to check for date. And then for the pass for American visa is $185. So the service fee plus the uh, US visa, so that'll be 350 plus $185. So that'll be like a $535. And so, and that's what you pay for. You pick a date, then once you pick a date, then you go for your interview. So like I said, I don't know much about Canada because I'm not in Canada, I'm in US. And I would love every one of you to come to US because that's where um, funding and research is. So now what are the things you take to the embassy? Your, your admission letter, your I-20. Your admission letter, but most of the time they request for I-20. I already explained what an I-20 is. So next is your admission letter. Your admission letter talks about the funding and everything, but in the Nigerian embassy, they focus more on your passport and your I-20. CAS, I think CAS is for UK. So then your valid passport, you all know what your valid passport, your visa, like I said, you go to the website, you apply, you submit your nowadays during that time, they don't submit I-20, but now things have changed that you submit your I-20, and once they submit I-20, they will check it to see if it is correct, then they will give you permission to pick date. So US, you pick date, you pick an interview date. So proof of fund, visa fee, you take your visa fee to the embassy, your service fee, like I said, for service fee, that's where your service record is. That's where the record about you still being an eligible student is. Other countries don't use that. UK don't use that, but this one is for US. Then your passport, photograph. US use them what we call the 2x2 passport size. 2x2 passport size. That's I think 2 inches, or I've forgotten the right measurement, but it's different from our normal Nigeria passport size. So if you go um to all those photographer, tell them you want the US passport size, they know it, they will give you that. Okay, now during your interview, be honest, tell them. So during the interview, they will ask you why you going. The visa interview, like I said, it's only US that does interview. I don't think Canada does interview. Canada does. I know UK doesn't do interview. You submit your application, but for US, you do interview, a face-to-face interview, as if you are going for a job interview. So you dress officially, dress properly, then you go for your interview. You'll be asked about your study plan. Why do you want to study in US? Why not? Why did you study in Canada? You'll be asked that. You'll be asked about which they'll be asked what other schools do you apply to that gave you funding, or what other schools do you apply to? Why do you want to apply to this school? Uh, if you don't have funding, they will ask you how you going to cover how you going to pay for your school fees and all those things. So just be honest, be confident, and go for it. So that's all about visa interview. So the next one is the final tip, deadline. This is April. Summer starts by June. By June, most schools like University of Colorado will open their page for 2026 application. Now, most people are going for 2020. People are now going for visa interview for 2025 the one they did last year. People they want to resume by September, August. People are now going for the interview now because they applied last year. Now, I guess next year, by God's grace, if Jesus studies, many people. So these are the people that will be going for next year school would have started applying this year. And like I said, some programs would even by June will open their portal for next year. But by September, almost all schools would have opened their portal for next year. And so this is the best time to start checking what they need. June is this is 4th month. June is 2 months from now, or July is 3 months from now. So start looking at the requirement of those schools. If the schools you wish to go makes GRA compulsory, start preparing for the GRA and go for the GRA. Some programs may make WES, World Evaluation Service. Some programs, what does that WES mean? WES is like in back home in Nigeria, our GP is 5 points most of the time. Here in the US, our GP is 4 points. And so West converts your GP in Nigeria to become that of the USA. So some programs do in-house evaluation of those GPAs because, like I said, Nigeria is about five, most programs. US is about four. Over five over four is different. And so some schools do they do in-house conversion, convert it for they'll convert it by themselves. Some schools don't do that. They'll say you should go and do it yourself. So look at those schools. They will tell you from the beginning that this program requires waste. So not to waste the money and apply to schools and later they say that hey, they will send them that hey, there's still one document remaining is waste. And West, I think I didn't do West. West is about 250, I think $200 or $300. So so if you don't have that money, I know your GPA is not that good. If your GPA is not that good, I will advise you to apply to do West. Apply to schools that don't require high GPAs. So that is what West also do. So if you don't if you have the money, you can also apply. You can also do the West, so they can apply to almost all schools in the US. And so give people your SOP, your statement of purpose. Give people your statement of purpose and tell them to go through to vet it for you and give you honest reply about your SOP to know if you are doing the right thing and not just waste your time or money. So reach out to alumni. Alumni in those schools or mentors can give you what is the feedback from those. For example, I because I'm a student here, if you reach out to me, if I don't have any information, I could go and meet one of the professors. Yeah, during his office hours, I tell them that, oh sir, please, I have a question. You'll be able to give me those feedback. Then I can relate it to the person that the person can also know what he needs to do to make his application to be competitive. There are sometimes that for example, like I was talking to one of my students, then I said, if you had applied to my school and say you want to work with my professor, they would have taken you in the department because my professor needs people to supervise. I will only have two people working under my professor, so he needs more people. Those are the benefit of talking to people inside the program. They will be able to give you they will be able to give you honest feedback on what to do to make your application competitive and to be able to get the admission easily sometimes. So that's one of the reasons for applying for this. So if you don't have that, and like I said, if you check nowadays, because people are applying, if you look at LinkedIn, you see at least one student, one Nigerian student in, I don't think, I never can tell, but 80%, you will see at least one student, 80% of any program or any universities in the US, you see at least one Nigeria in that department. So what do you do? So what I would advise you, after you've got to the schools you want to go to, look at the requirements if you have them, check the alumni of that school or check the student of that school. You can check that on LinkedIn. Then send a mail to them. Most of the time they will respond to you and tell you what you need to do. Nigerians are one of the very cooperative and very well organized group in the US. They will always reach out to you. Okay, so those are the things about uh that. So to get other information, you can check Education USA, check official website of the American Embassy. Then uh, you can check if to get documents about what you need to apply. You can check the university portal. So before I open floor for question, like I said, how do you navigate information? How do you sort out information in the internet to know what is required for you to submit in a particular department? What a department A will request for me to submit might not be what a requirement B will request for me to submit. So department may tell you, hey, I want you to submit GRE and TOEFL. While some schools in another department may tell you, don't submit GRE, don't submit TOEFL. So how do you get those information is on the department website. Okay, so I want to do a practical explanation of how to solve those documents, how to solve those information online. Can somebody just tell me the department he is and what he wants to do if it is an MSc or a PhD on the chat box now? Can somebody share? Maybe just tell me. You don't need to tell me your name. Just say, oh, PhD. I don't want to use my department. PhD or MSc. Okay, chemistry PhD. Okay, fine. Okay, chemistry PhD. Okay, so chemistry PhD. And one thing also is that chemistry is one of the most funded. the person in chemistry is a very, very lucky person. Chemistry is one of the most um, funded program in United States. Chemistry is one of the most funded. I don't know why, but chemistry people are very, very lucky. They are the most funded program in the United States. Okay, so chemistry. Okay, your research interest. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, okay. So let me start. PhD chemistry. I hope you can see my browser in the United
No,
States.
we
Like I said,
can't.
I know much about. Oh, 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 okay. Sorry. Okay, let me do that now. Oh, can you see my browser?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see my browser now?
Yes.
Can you see my browser? Please, can
Yes, we can
somebody?
see
Okay,
it.
okay, fine. So let me see. Let me do chemistry. Let me not use maths. So let me do chemistry. So PhD, like I said, chemistry in the US. Okay. So everything you need is on the internet. You don't need to pay for any agent. You don't need to pay for anybody. So my go-to move is always US news because they have the updated version on the line. So go to move is US news. US news. Look at the icon. So it tells you the program and their rank and their rank and their rank. It tells you the rank of the programs in chemistry. Okay, so let me just speak an arbitrary department. Okay, so let me go to let's say okay, let me pick Florida State University. So with this, when I was doing for maths, I looked at so this maths so that we have over 5,000 universities in the US. And over 5,000 universities in the US, it means that those 5,000 universities will not be doing PhD in mathematics. All of them cannot be doing PhD in mathematics. So instead of me not to be wasting my time, this one could give me a better understanding of where I want to. And so you could see the person talk about. The good thing about it also tells you about the specialty, those programs that have the specialty. So you could see analytic. So the program that has professors in analytic, analytic, that have biochemistry, that have inorganic, that have organic. So it's easy for you to solve over there. But like I said, this let me also point out that this does not also this is not an exclusive list. There are some schools here that their names are not here, but they have those programs also. But this can also give you an idea of those schools you need to apply to. So, like I said, let's say analytic now. Okay, chemistry. So let me pick Ohio State University. I want to do analytic. So they are number three in analytic in the US. So I go to Ohio State University, PhD chemistry. So then I go to some of them may not have this apply. So let's start from here. See, so it just leads me to straight over to their graduate program because I don't need the undergraduate because I'm not an undergraduate. I'm not applying for undergraduate program degree. I'm applying for so it with that. If you do that PhD, it gives you to the closest link to that, which is that. So I go to so for this, it talks about the program, you read the program, but because of the time, you don't all you need is the requirements of the program. So you solve so after you've got to the page, the next thing is to look at the requirements of the program. What do they require for you to submit for you to be able to get assistantship? So some programs will ask you to send a mail to the professor. Some program will ask you to first of all just submit like that without in my department. You don't need to reach out to any professor. In my field, you don't need to reach out, but some field they will ask you the department, the professor that will take you to this department. So you have to know those things at hand before applying. And I always advise you once you've seen the school you want to go to, look at the research field they are and send a mail to the professor and tell them, hey, prof, I would love to work with you. Which we call that cold mail. I will I will I will check my history and see if I have a sample of a code mail I submitted to those prof, telling them what you want to do. And if they were able to take you, that the essence of that code mail is for you to know if they are taking people in that department, so that you don't waste your time. Now, sometimes that the website is not updated, but you sending mail to that department can give you a feedback, a quick feedback, so that you don't waste your time. A feedback on what is happening currently in the department. So I can send a mail to the program director and say, hey, Prof, I'm sending a mail. I want to know if next year people are going to be taking people for PhD. You'll be able to tell me, oh, we're not going to be taking. It seems our department is going to be full this year. So attach and remove them from your list. So if I want to go apply to, so this one has, so I can check here. I think I'll be able to see it here. So this tells me the facts and the things I need to know about the department and what I need. So they give us a comprehensive. So the deadline is 2024. So they've not updated it because next year application has not started. So if the deadline is first, it means that the next year likely deadline will still be first of 2025. So you start preparing. So you see the formations here, application fee. So if you want to know if you are eligible for application fee, you click here to know what are the requirements you need. So this you see the required materials are online. You click the online this thing, that is, you fill the form, you submit, blah blah blah. Then also a resume or CV, a personal statement which we talked about, a transcript, or TOEFL. And so it says, this school says that non-US citizen whose native language is not English and who have not received a document who has not received a degree from USA college or university will need to do this. So if you know that you don't have money to do IELTS or TOEFL, so the school also require, some school may say if you don't do TOEFL or IELTS, you can do Duolingo. So if you have that money for that, you can do that. So if you don't have that money for this TOEFL, if I were you, I would not apply to this place. So this is how you can. So you have a comprehensive. So I would advise you to have a list of what the schools want to apply to, and this is the best time to start doing that. This is the best time to start sending mail to professors, because imagine you will send a mail to somebody that send a mail to professor in April, May, that wants to work with you, and the professor says, "Hey, I like your profile. I will take you." Once his application cycle, remind me, it means that person has already gotten the slot with that professor. Now imagine somebody with a better profile coming to apply to send a mail to the professor, maybe let's say by July. The professor will likely not want to take it because he has already committed with somebody and he has already taken the person. Now you know that's why it's better to always apply. You should always start doing your application as early as possible. So that's what. So also your 3 letter of recommendation. I would advise you to have like 4, so that if one of the professors disappoints you, you have backup. So that is also do I have to, so you see those informations here on that. So that's how to get those, that's how to solve internet to get this information. So do I have to wait? So you just read, so you read them individually, and so it's from here you also know if the department requires you to submit waste. There's some program, so you see them here. So look at those things and see if you have them. If you don't have them and you know you cannot get them, then you trash that school away and go to the next school. So that is how to solve the internet to get those documents. So it's not compulsory. Like I said, let me also say that it's not compulsory to use. I always use this one because this one will give me a sieve of all the schools that are doing PhD. But if you don't, you cannot use that. You can also just try chemistry United States and just check the internet and do that. So one thing also is writing a code mail. What is a code mail? A code mail is an unsolicited email to a professor telling him that you want to work with him. See, I have them here. So you always write as many as possible. So you can see. Oh, I don't know. You can see. Prospective International. That was 2024. Okay, this one. If I press enter, you see plenty like that. So it's not, you just continue to prospective international graduate student inquiry. So for example, this is a code me now. So you see, my name is blah blah blah. I have a blah blah. So introduce yourself, tell them your academic background. Okay, let me tell them your research interest. then you follow up with the question. So I told them this is what I have for my GRE because I did GRE. Then I asked, are there funding and assistantship for international students in your department? So that's where you get those information. So if I research if you are looking for research assistant, you can say, do you have opening for research assistant next year? That's where to ask this question. Is there funding for spring? Do I need to contact? So this you get information there so that to know the school you want to apply to. So sometimes you can apply to 200 and maybe two will answer you. Don't that what's about this American thing. It's a game of number. Just continue to apply. Continue submitting those code mails, and one of them can just like we always say, we only need 1 year, and one of them can just say, okay, fine. I think I'm looking for somebody. I'll be able to look at I think what's the name of that school? Okay, Texas Christian. Okay, so I send comment. Don't know if I don't know. One of the professors replied to me. Okay, perspective. So you see, um, okay. So I sent a mail like that to that prof, and he responded. So he responded to me. Are there funding? He said yes. If there's no funding, we say no. Then it means that I will not. Imagine me thinking on the website they said there's funding, and me spending money to pay for application of $60, and that time sorry, there's no funding for this year. Just wasted $60. So sending a mail to them make you to know that hey, let me apply to this school. So he said yes. So it means that since he said yes, I can apply to that school. So I was saying that is there. So imagine I want to apply for spring, and I go and apply waste time. So that gives you understanding of what you need to do, and that. So you can also ask what are the things they require for students so that I can put it on the SOP. And many of them, some of them will answer you. So also try and draft. For mathematics, you don't need that. But for people, you need those code mail for programs that need research assistants. Programs like chemistry, biochemistry, programs like physics, programs like they will take you as a GRE and not a TA. TA means you are teaching. RA means research assistant. You're going to be doing research. So there are two different things in the system. So those programs that is RA, you're going to be working most of the time with the professor. So the professor will want to know the kind of person you want to take because you're working with them. So they want to know the professors, the student they want to take. So it's better you send a mail to them to know if they will be taking people for that year. And now that Trump, let me not use the word Trump. And now that the recent government have been yanking out funding from research bodies, it's better you send mail to those programs first to know if they have funding for next year, so that you don't just waste money to apply to those programs. And so I think that's all for now, or that's everything about um, about um, about that. So if you have any question, the floor is now open for question. If you have any question, you can ask. Prof,
Wow, this is a great
so
session.
I'm done. So
Let's
if you have any
appreciate him.
question you want to ask,
Thank you, Mr.
you can,
Busayo.
Thank you very much,
you can ask
sir.
right
Thank
now.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
This is about the best you can get from anywhere, I can bet you. Oh, we really appreciate him.
So you can unmute your mic.
So he's calling for questions now. Question, the floor is open for questions.
Good evening, Mr. John. Thank you so much for this wonderful.
So Oluwasegun,
yes,
so
can you
ask your
hear me?
question.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Shegun, go ahead and ask your question. We are hearing you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. John, for the wonderful presentation. We've really learned a lot. I want
Hello.
to. Can you still hear
Oluwabusayo,
me?
ask a question.
Yes,
I
please.
can't hear you.
First and foremost, I want you to go back to the first slide of this presentation. The first slide of the presentation. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. There's something I want to check on the first slide of
I
the
can't
presentation
hear
before I
you.
start my question.
I
Is
think
it from my
it's
side or
yeah,
from
it's from
Yes,
your side.
can you hear me?
please? Can you hear
Hello?
him?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, we can
We
hear
can.
him.
Busayo, maybe you should remove the
Hello, Prof.
earphone. Maybe you should remove the earphone. You can't hear us.
Hello.
Okay, let's give him time to reset his earphone. We'll come for the question session.
Stay back after the programs. So
Okay,
those
sir.
are my three questions. Yes, sir.
So
Thank
the
you, sir.
first one is if I get to proof of funds, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Don't use that for me. Please. Please. Okay, just call me Busayo. Okay. Okay. So for the first one, proof of fund, it depends. It depends. If you are fully funded, and I guess you know what you understand what fully funded is. If you are fully funded, you don't need proof of fund. That is, your funding covers your academics. You don't need that. For example, me, my funding covers my academics, so I at least show proof of fund. But it doesn't co- sorry, the funding does not cover my spouses. So I need to show proof of fund for my spouse because I'm the one going to school. Why there are some programs or some schools, for example, those chemistry that has very, very high funding. For example, courses I said chemistry are very lucky people. Their school academics can be maybe $20,000, and the funding they have is $25,000. So if the student's wife uh, per year is 5,000, add that 20 plus 5,000, that's 5,000. So it means that the funding he has coincidentally covers that of his wife. He doesn't need to show proof of fund for that. But for my wife, I showed because my funding does not fully cover that of my wife. It doesn't mean that my stipend will not be able to take care of them, but the funding does not cover them. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Sorry about that.
You get? So if the funding does not fully covers it, that's when you show proof of fund for them. But if it covers fully, you don't need to show proof of fund for them. And the proof of fund is just to get the I-280. And the embassy, most of the time, they don't request for proof of fund. Now, for the second one, sponsor, like I said, because I'm in the US, I don't know much about that country. I'm sorry, and I'm very, very sorry for my scope, limited scope. But I know for Canada, the spouse, but I don't know the political tone now. Like last year, 2 years ago, the spouse are allowed, and UK, they are allowed to work while the principal applicant is studying. But in US, they are not allowed to work. And that's why it's always good to have funding. If you have funding, I can tell you for a fact that the feeding of the children, except if you have maybe like 4 or 5 children, but if you have like two, the funding you have is enough to take care of them. It doesn't mean that you will be able to live large, but at least as long as you live beyond your means. For example, in America, feeding is not a problem. There's always where you can get food, and what we call the pantry, the basic need, where there are places whereby people that have low income, because we are currently income earners. So people that have low income can go to and they will give them food. They give them rice, they give them chicken, they give them the everything you need there. Apart from, like my friend always say, sorry for saying this, apart from people that still are longing for maybe Nigerian food, that's where they will spend money. Because there are some people that like to they're not, and which is their choice also. They don't like eating their um their pizza, their burger, and all those things. You see them cheap at a cheap price. But people that will still want to enjoy their egusi, their ogbono, their idikaiko, and all those things. you see them at the African stores. So those ones are because they are bringing them from Nigeria is a little bit expensive. But it doesn't mean that that cannot also, with your stipend, you'll not be able to, I'm talking based on personal experience, you'll not be able to use that to conveniently, at least I know many of my friends with their stipend, they conveniently could get a car to move around with their family. So at least as long as you're not doing more than yourself, even if your wife is not working, you have enough to take care of your family with your stipend you have. So, but your wife will not be able to work. Now, for the political undertone, like I will just tell you from even the international office is still adjusting to the system. As long as you don't commit any crime, and thank God, I believe everybody is Christian here. As long as you don't commit any crime, you don't overspeed, you don't urinate, you obey the basic law, you don't overspeed, you don't urinate outside. No, in Nigeria, so even Nigerians with actually the male folk, there's no way we can, as long as we can see gutter anywhere, we can urinate. Yeah, we don't know as long as you don't commit any crime. Also, I think nowadays they are checking people's social media status or post. If you don't post anything, even as a Christian, you're not even supposed to post that. As long as you do the basic love as a Christian, you don't have any problem. That's just the truth about it for the police. So, but the only problem, the only challenges we'll be having here is because of the political undertone, the government of the day yanking out funding from people. That's why that's so funding that are related to maybe what we call DEI, funds that are related to a segregated set of people, they've been removing funding from there because they said it's racist. So if you don't have, if your project, your research is not tending to that place, I don't think you have any problem with that. If your research is about chemistry, health, I don't think you have problem with that. But if your research is about um, maybe transgender, maybe it's a gay, maybe it's about marginalized people. Let's just say that. If you're funding about so that is the funding the government is attacking nowadays. But if you don't have your funding, if your research is not towards that place, I don't think you have a problem with that. So I hope I've
Thank you
answered all
very
your questions.
much, sir. Yes,
Thank God.
yes, you answered it perfectly. Yes, sir. I
Okay,
just want to add,
okay,
while
sir.
somebody is doing PhD in the US, is it
Okay, sir.
possible at the same time for the spouse to also be schooling, or it is not
Definitely.
possible, or are there ways around it?
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. There are two ways around it. Okay, sorry for interrupting you. Complete your statement.
I'm done, sir. I'm done, sir.
Okay. There are two ways. If the wife or the spouse, either the husband or the wife, if it's not the main applicant, if the spouse comes in, there are two ways you can go about it. You are eligible to do what we call voluntary work, as long as you're not paid for it. Or you can do so. There are some courses you can do. Some I forgot the name of those courses. Some voluntary courses. You can do some voluntary courses. So you're allowed to do those things. But if the wife wants to or the spouse want to work, I mean go to school, the spouse can we call it change of status, can change from a dependent to an main applicant. That's what we call F1. So the student, so once he gets admission, he can apply to the USCIS, that's the United States Immigration and Citizenship. So you apply to them that hey, the school will give him I-20. With that, you apply to the school and you get a service number. Tell them that hey, I want to change from an F2 to an F1. You're allowed to do that. So, and that's why I know many people who came in as F2 as a dependent and came in, changed their status to F1 and after they got scholarship. And with those two scholarship, they were able to take care of of the family. Whereby that is what I'm saying is that husband has those scholarship, wife has those scholarship, and use that to feed themselves. That is in that same school. Some people may be unlucky and get funding from different school, maybe different. Like I said, it all depends on the wife. Some husband or some wife will say that fine, I don't mind as long as it's in the US, you can get school in some other state. As long as we're in the US, we always meet. We always find a way to meet. Maybe during the Christmas or the holidays or weekends. It depend, like I said, it all depends on the choice. Some 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 people may say that okay, since you don't have a funding in my school, okay, we can or while apply to other schools, face your career, get your degree, then we can You can come. I also remember he talked about how to stay. There are ways to stay. Professor Ware and I have talked about it before when I was to apply. We call it NIWEB1. And so those are the ways. If you apply for that, those are technical things. If you apply, just come in first. If you apply for that, you can apply for, like a friend of mine that came in his second year, in his first year now. He now has his green card. He applied for EB1. So he used the experience he gathered from Nigeria, told them that he's one of the best in this field, and applied for that, and he was approved. So there are ways to navigate around that and get your green card. So it's possible.
Thank you so much, sir. This is
No
very
problem.
vital information. Thank
Thank
you,
God,
sir.
sir. Okay.
Sorry, question.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, ma.
All right. Okay. I actually have a situation right now, so maybe you could help or you could answer. My brother's fiance, she's a medical doctor here, so she got admission.
Sorry for medical doctor. Where is it, in US or in Nigeria?
No, she's in Nigeria. She's currently in Nigeria.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so she
okay.
got a scholarship. She got a admission for masters in public health, and they've done everything, all the process. And she went for her visa interview yesterday. She even showed them for funds, and she was denied the visa. It's been very devastating actually because their wedding is coming up next month. My brother himself is already in the US, so they want to reapply as soon as possible. I'm just wondering if she reapplies because the what the visa officer said was you don't have sufficient ties to your country. So she
Uh,
applied as a single person, with her father as a sponsor. The proof of funds wasn't a problem. The money was there. So I'm just wondering what possible ties do you have to show proof to them that because they think that they expect that you should come back after the program. What are the possible ties you should show to them? Then number two, we actually have a situation right now. It's been disturbing me. So my own brother went on an F1 visa. He has finished his master's. He's been working. So he's been working on his F1 visa, but he's supposed to get his green card by the end of the year. But now with I don't know what is happening in the US. Maybe Trump, some policies or something that says he's afraid that if he comes back for the wedding, which is next month, that he will not be able to go back to the US. They will not allow him in because he doesn't have he's on an F1 visa and he has finished his masters. He's already working. While trying to get his HB, or I think H1B or something. That's what he's trying to get the green card by the end of by the end of the year. So I'm just wondering what is it, that rule, does it apply to everybody? And for the one who wants to do the interview again, what possible things can she say? I mean, her SOP, everything, or maybe I could just put it across to you to also look at it. But I think everything, her documents, she had everything. The only reason was that she doesn't have sufficient ties, to her country. Her parents are here, her siblings are here, but they feel that it's not enough. So what extra can she do for the next interview she will have to go for? Thank you.
okay, so I will say I'm a blunt person, but people don't like my bluntness. I will advise her not, if personally for me, though it's a very painful and a blunt statement, but I think I don't know how to lie or how to cajole people. I would advise her not to go for the interview if he doesn't have a very good funding. When they say she doesn't have sufficient time, they are just actually telling her to her face that, hey, we don't trust that you have enough funding to take care of yourself over there. Now imagine, for example, by school, I'm paying admission, my cost of attendance is $55,000. Okay, let's say, okay, I'm not supposed to what is the word? I'm not supposed to talk about the 50,000 is together with my stipend. Let's forget about my stipend. Okay, about paying school fees. Yeah, if you miss the deadline for school fees the first day, there'll be a big problem. And coupled with the political undertone now. So you don't want to even defile the law nowadays. You don't want to defile the law because people that are even just driving in without stopping for red light to stop, they are even canceling their visa now. Tell them to go back to their country. Even my friend are even saying that nowadays it's even better we should just be trekking. I think that's the only safe way to do. Just parking illegally, which are just normal things that you don't need. People do mistake. They'll just give them, okay, go and pay $20 for parking where you're not supposed to park. It's not supposed to be problem. But now, because of that, people are being deported because of that. And so, and you cannot tell the visa officer that you are going to be working here to pay for it because it's illegal. So the other way is to tell them that your father will be enough. I'm trying to make you to see the point of the visa officer. Though
Sorry,
it's
sir.
very
Sorry,
painful,
sir.
but
Sorry. Let me mention. Maybe I didn't mention the money was not the problem. She had the complete money plus her scholarship. She has a past scholarship.
what is the deficit? What is the deficit, if I may ask?
What do you mean by the deficits?
What out of the amount this is going to cost her for the first 9 months of 1 year for the school? How much is the school funding that? Because I know public health don't really give enough funding. Public health is more like a professional course. They don't give much funding. So
Okay, so
without
because she was not going to stay, accommodation was already exclusive. I think what she had in her account, as in like altogether in her account was it was over 60 million naira. I don't know
the
what that
problem is
is in
that the problem
dollars.
is that what we fail to understand is that at the embassy, a non-immigrant visa is not a document-based interview, which means that they don't care about your document. In fact, if you say you have 60 million in your account, how can you even show me that 60 million naira is your own? I'm not saying you're lying. I'm not saying you're lying. How can you tell the visa officer is not? The visa officer has to go to the bank to do that, and the embassy don't have time to do that. So the person is for you to go and clear yourself out. When you clear yourself, I come back. And so, if you say that you have 60 million naira, how are we sure? How is the embassy sure that you just put that money in that account for that interview? You're not going to return it back. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying that the embassy can say that how are they sure that the money is not is your money? And so the best way for us, without any shadow of doubt, is that the school is I want to school is going to fund you. Then we are 100% sure that your accommodation, your feeding has already been taken care of by the school. And that's why I will advise her if she has the thing about it that many times, and that's one thing, maybe because we are here already and you guys are there. Sorry, I'm not trying to celebrate. Many times we always like to be in haste. Just want to do it fast, fast and get it and just get there. So I would advise her to not. I'm not trying to say that if she goes again, she may not be lucky to get the visa. I'm not saying that. I have people that don't even have funding at all and they get the visa. But I'm always like to say that the percentage nowadays for you to get a visa without funding is very low. Because if she's fully funded, they don't need to be asking her, I go to take care of herself. Because my HOT has already said that the school will pay for my school. So I would advise her that she should, I know that our wedding is next year, blah, blah, blah. I would advise her that she should the wedding can still be done next month. Wedding can still be done. If she gets the visa today and gets to America, she can do the wedding tomorrow. So why don't she do the right thing? I always say, do the first thing first. I would advise her to get, I know public health, I don't want to interrupt you that time. When you said public health, I knew that public health, she will not have a funding she would have the funding because public don't usually give funding. So I would advise her that she has a very good grade, and if she parents are capable enough to give her, why don't you use that 60 million to have to work on your profile, which is have a, if possible, do GRE, if possible, do TOEFL, then apply to schools that will give her funding. Believe you me, if she has a school that gives her good funding, if she goes to that embassy again, by God, they will take her.
But
That's
what the visa
that's how they.
officer, what the officer said was she does not have sufficient ties. Their problem is that she will not come back if she leaves. That I think that
Whenever
was
they
the
say they
main
don't have
problem, not the
sufficient
funding.
time, most of the time it's because of the funding. That's just the easiest way to say it. So VO will just say because of the funding. If you see if she goes there with funding, you see that they will take her. It's not because
Let
of
me.
she's it's not because of the problem. Whatever they say is sufficient time is because of the funding. It's not because of what about people that are single, people that are single that don't marry that don't marry that they go to the embassy. Why did they send them back because of this? Because of they don't have home tie. The home tie there is because of the home the strong tie is because of the funding. If she has good funding, they will not worry about insufficient home tie. They will not worry about
Um,
that.
Thank you, Mr. John. Chief Durham, let me also add another point to what Mr. John has raised. From my experience, another thing that the consulars they consider when you're applying for visa, whenever they say you don't have sufficient ties, one of the things that they are also expecting is probably maybe if you have a business, that is existing in Nigeria and running. Another thing that could prove that she has sufficient tie in Nigeria is maybe if she has landed property, all right, that can be valued or estimated, and showing that okay, this property is worth so amount. Such can be categorized as having sufficient ties
At
as
that,
well. So
because
in
I have
addition to that, yes.
friends. Sorry for interrupting. Even at that, I have friends there. Okay, if you say you have a landed property, do you know they believe that if while here in America, it's just a call away. Please, ejo, eba meta le mi to wa nbe. Those landed properties are not even sufficient enough to show home time. Maybe even I've seen people who they say that they're using their jobs as home time. You could resign from here. You could resign from here and say that you're not working again. So those jobs are not even strong enough for home time. So the best home time you can have is having a funding. If you have a funding, all other things become secondary. If you have, if you have, is if you and if you don't have a funding, if you show them truly that you've gone to other countries, has the person traveled out before?
No. So that's the thing. That was what I was advising her to do. If she could go to other countries.
Just for travel, or just
Yes, just for holiday or something. If she because
so
for my
that
brother,
could also okay.
yeah, for my brother, when he went to for his interview, the first time he went, he got the visa, he got his F1, and I think the reason was because he had been to Dubai twice before that
Yeah,
time.
that's nothing. Yeah, that's nothing. So that's if it doesn't have full funding. That's always if you don't have full funding, we advise you to have strong travel history. That travel history shows that you've traveled to this country before you came back. Definitely, you have something that will bring you back. So all of that things is just secondary. Landed job, most of the time they believe once you even the landed house, the landed property you have, they believe. Sorry to say it, okay, sorry, Yoruba. I hope everybody understand Yoruba. I'm in a place where English is problem. Ibi tó wà ọmọ pé landed property ta níyẹn ó lè jẹ́ pé a lọ wọ ni. So that's why once you show them, they will not ask you for any documents, just your I-20, because I-20 they can verify it from here. I-20 and your passport, because that's the only thing they need. Other thing, your own, even your bank statement. Most of the time, it all are pame. So if you tell them that your father is enough to take care of you, your father is enough to take care of you for your academics, and your father has 60 million in his account, and you have 60 million in your account, and you've not traveled out of the country, it shows that there's no consistency there.
Okay, so
So another
what
way
of my second question, sir?
Okay, what's the second question?
Okay, I'm talking of I don't know what rule they are making in the US now that if you have an F1 visa and you leave the country that you'll not be able to come in,
Okay,
especially for those who
okay.
have applied for green card.
Now, okay, has applied for green card. Under
Yes,
what's this thing?
his office, his work. Well, I don't know how it works. H1B or something. I don't know.
If I apply for H1B, I would advise him to first of all clear that H1B first. Let him have it first before coming. Even with that, go safe. Nowadays, even lawyers will say if you don't have something very, very, very important, they will advise you to still hang around. Check the political climate. But if he knows that as long as he doesn't post anything offensive online, and you already have some, what I'm just saying, I think by next month or this month, the H1B will be out. If the H1B is out, then they can go. But if the H1B is still not out, I would advise people to come out. As his visa expired. Hello?
No, it has not. So the H1B challenge that we're facing right now.
So let him get the H1B first before you leave, please. Because if he does it, there's no time. I would advise you to get his H1B cleared first before coming out.